7:30. If we can all rise for the flag salute.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I ask for a moment of silence to remember the services and sacrifices of the armed service members who protect our nations and the first responders who protect our neighborhoods. In addition, we have an employee, Hank Trogani Jr., whose father just recently passed away. Hank, that works here, is a great individual, has really put a lot of dedication to his work with the township, and I just want to make notion of his father is Hank Trogani. He was 77 years old, died in Newton. He also served in the Marines from 1961 to 1965. So if we can just do a little bit of an additional moment of silence for Hank's dad, would be great. Clerk, please do the roll.
Councilmember Quinn?
Here.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Here.
Councilmember Jedinak?
Here.
Councilmember Smith?
Here.
Councilmember Sackett?
Here.
Councilmember Jackson?
Here.
Vice President Abrahamson?
Here.
President Kelly?
Here. Number 5, this meeting was advertised in the Daily Record and the Star Ledger, the official newspapers from the Township of Rockaway, on January 11, 2019. Notice was posted on the official bulletin board of Rockaway Township. 6 is a designation of Sergeant at Arms. Township Code 2-5.15 decorum. While the council is in session, the members shall preserve order and decorum. The council president, at his or her discretion, shall direct the chief of police or such other person in the police department as he may designate to be the sergeant of arms at the council meeting. The sergeant of arms shall employ reasonable means to maintain the proper order and decorum consistent with acceptable standards. I don't see our police chief, but I do see Sergeant Iannelli. You're going to be the sergeant of arms? Great. Thank you for your service for that. Number 7, we have adoption of minutes. What we did last time, we can either do it all in one from 1, 2, 3, and 4. If you feel that you're going to have some different votes, then we can do each individual one. Do we want to do it as a group? Individual, okay. So adoption of minutes, we're going to have April 23rd, 2019 closed session. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have Mrs. Abrahamson, Smith on the second. Please do the roll.
Councilmember Quinn?
No.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Abstain.
Councilmember Jedinak?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett?
Abstain.
Councilmember Jackson?
Abstain.
Vice President Abrahamson?
Yes.
President Kelly?
Yes. I have 4 yeses, 1 no, 3 abstention, motion carries. I have number 2, May 14th, 2019 regular meeting. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
I'm sorry, second. Jackson. Do the roll.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Yes.
Councilmember Jedinak?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett?
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson?
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson?
Yes.
President Kelly?
Yes, I have 8 yeses, 0 no, 0 abstention, motion carries. On to number 3. We have May 14th, 2019 closed session. Do I have a motion?
I'll make motion.
Mr. Friedlander?
Yes. Second.
I'm going to let Mr. Sackett go in a second.
You got it.
Thank you. Clerk, please do the roll.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Yes.
Councilmember Jedinak?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett?
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson?
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson?
Yes.
President Kelly?
Yes, I have 8 yeses, 0 no's, 0 abstention, motion carries. Last one we had, number 4, would be May 28, 2019, regular meeting. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Mrs. Smith for the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mrs. Abrahamson on the second. Clerk, please do the roll.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Yes.
Councilmember Jednak?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett?
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson?
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson?
Yes.
President Kelly?
Yes. I have 8 yeses, 0 no's, 0 abstention, motion carries. On to 8, I have 2018 audit. I have R19-136, which is the governing body certification of the annual audit. Before we go into this, though, do we want Mr. Yeah, I think that would be the best to do that and see that the firm sends its best up here. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Great, thanks for coming.
Yep. So Ray Sarnelli Jr., Township Auditor. Tonight, we have a brief presentation on the 2018 audit. You'll see you have 2 resolutions in there, one approving the audit and one approving the corrective action. So when I get to the compliance section, we'll go over a few recommendations. We've met with your administrator and CFO. They've put together a corrective action plan on the issues that we found, and so we can move forward from there. So financially, nothing's really changed since we last met with you during the budget time. Everything's pretty much relatively the same, so I'm going to do a brief overview of the finances and then go into the compliance section. So in your current operating fund, you started the year with $6.6 million in fund balance. You used $3.869 million to budget the 2018 balance the 2018 budget and regenerated $3.46 million, leaving you with an ending fund balance of $6,254,291. So your fund balance is down roughly $400,000. There's a lot of good planning that went into the year. There were some good things. Some revenues came in higher than expected. However, you did have that fairly large tax appeal that took a little bit of hit to your fund balance. There's been a lot of good planning done over the years that you were able to really sustain through that. Could have had a pretty dramatic impact on your fund balance to only see it go down $400,000. I know nobody wants to see their fund balance go down, but overall not the worst thing in the world as far as how bad of an impact it could have possibly had. All your trusts and capital ordinances, everything operated normally. In your sewer department and the water utility, you saw a slight increase in fund balance and they remain stable. So overall, all of your funds are operating normally. You have good financial stability. That's a good thing. Getting onto the compliance section, that's where we make our comments and recommendations regarding regulatory and statutory compliance. There are 3 recommendations. The first is that all required journal entries should be made in the current and general capital fund to the general ledger. When we came in for the audit, the CFO actually brought that to our attention and that she had already taken corrective action towards that issue. We did feel that it warranted a comment in the report, but we felt after speaking with her and reviewing what's gone on in 2019 that she's made the right issue. She's actually doing the entries now. So that issue has already been resolved, but we did feel that it belonged in the report. The other 2 recommendations are related to your court. Statutorily, the court has to disperse all of its collections by the 15th of the following month. That's not happening. That's a statutory regulation. So there's a recommendation in there that disbursements of the prior month's collections be made by the 15th of the following month. Additionally, and I believe this may be a repeat recommendation, there are some reconciling items on the bank reconciliation that are stale dated. So those items should be cleared from time to time, and we're not seeing that happen. So that made it into the report as well. Lastly, there are 2 suggestions. This is kind of an informal recommendation, not something that we saw that was wrong, but maybe something that could improve your financial position. The first being that your general and water capital have some older improvement authorizations that could be canceled and reutilized in a different manner. Basically what it is when you do a project, if things come in under budget, some money gets left behind those balances could be canceled and used for something else now that those projects are complete. So we encourage you to review those from time to time so that those monies can be used accordingly. Lastly, there's a large number of liens and assessment receivables and delinquent taxes that should continue to be pursued in order to get them back on a tax-paying basis. Additionally, you need to provide adequate funding for your remaining assessment that's outstanding. So those are the two suggestions that we have for you to just improve your financial position a little bit. So unless there's any questions, I'd like to thank Lisa and your administration. They do a lot of help when we're here for the audit. And lastly, thank you for the opportunity to work with you.
Does anybody go ahead, Mr. Second.
Just a quick question. I do remember from last year from the audit, and you brought up the same situation with the court with same issue from last year. Nothing had been corrected. I'm just trying to see, I'm hoping that this is corrected because I don't want to see it next year, a third time, happen again.
With the court, it's fairly difficult because the state level of courts really is in charge of pursuing that. So we send a copy of the audit to the state and they're supposed to pursue that. At your level, there's really not so much action you can take to enforce what we put in the report. It has to come from the state level. So there may be something that you could pursue with them to say, hey, our court, we need you to get on them a little bit more. But from you going directly to the court, can't happen.
Mr. Ternelli, are there any consequences of not following it?
Of not following up on this? Not really. I mean, it's not great to have repeat recommendations in your audit. The state can technically reduce your state aid. If you have one repeat recommendation, I would say that's, not the end of the world. I haven't seen anybody lose state aid in regards to that. If you look at other towns, other larger cities, they have a ton of repeat recommendations and their state aid has been affected. So at the end of the day, it's just something that they should be pursuing and something that we find that if we find an issue, we can't not put it in.
Correct. Mr. Quinn, is there something you want to ask Mr. Quinn?
Yeah, the last 2 seconds there faded out to nothing.
We'll try to talk a little bit louder. Can you still hear us now, though?
All right.
Could I ask you said there were funds left over that could be reappropriated?
So in your, yes, in your general and water capital funds, they should be reviewed. It's not necessary.
How much money?
Do you have your book?
Yeah, I do. I didn't know what page it was on.
So it's on Schedule C5. It's
Okay.
towards the back of the book.
And who would have the process to reappropriate?
So that would come from you. It would have to be done by the board to cancel the ordinances, but I would suggest that you would have the CFO review the ordinances for what could be possibly canceled, if anything.
I think we have some back as a 06, I think. We might have some ordinance. Mr. Sackett, were you finished when you were asking it before?
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Is there anything else, Mr. Jackson?
No.
The Bowlbyville sewer line is in that as well?
I believe so. Well, I believe that project has been completed.
There might be another year or two, I think, for the payment for that.
So that is not under the improvement authorizations that we're discussing in that suggestion.
Is something still being suggested to collect?
That's the second suggestion that we had in regards to the liens, assessments receivable, and the delinquent taxes, that those be pursued. The Bowlbyville assessment would be included in that suggestion to pursue finalizing that.
Is this the first year that's suggested?
No, it's always been suggested in there.
How many years has that been suggested?
I think since...
17 years?
Yeah.
17 years?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Mrs. Smith, is there anything you want to ask? No? Anybody else? No? Mr. Quinn?
No, sir.
Mr. Jeniak?
No.
I think you're okay.
All right.
Great, thank you
you.
so much.
Thank you.
And Mr. Sarinelli, Senior, thank you too as well. One thing I did want to make a mention of though, when we're talking about the fund balance of only going down for the 400,000 because we had that tax appeal for the 1.5, I think our administration, as well as Mr. Burak, I think did a phenomenal job negotiating that from the larger amount. Mrs. Seeger, what was the amount that they were actually looking for in the appeal originally?
It was very large, but I don't remember at this time.
Something like 3 million, or just right in that era?
Probably.
And Mr. Burak was able to negotiate that down to 1.5, so we could have had a heavier impact without his involvement. So just another note to thank Mr. Burak for his services and the hard work that he did with that. With all that being said, I'm going to move on to R19-136. And that's the governing body certification of the annual audit. Do I have a motion on that?
Motion.
Who's second? Mamie? Clerk, please do the roll.
Councilmember Quinn?
I'll abstain.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Yes.
Councilmember Jednak?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Sakya?
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson?
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson?
Yes.
President Kelly?
Yes. I have one abstention. I have 7 yeses. Motion carries. 0 noes, I'm sorry. On number 2, we have R19-135. And that would be the resolution approving the corrective action plan in connection with the audit report for the year 2018 of Township of Rockaway, County of Morris. Do I have a motion?
A motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Is that Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Clerk, please do the roll.
Councilmember Quinn?
I haven't reviewed it, so I'll abstain.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Yes.
Councilmember Jednak?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett?
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson?
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson?
Yes.
President Kelly?
Yes, I have 7 yeses, 1 abstention, 0 noes. Motion carries. Going on to number 9, which would be ordinances to introduce. This is ordinance O-19-14. And this is the capital ordinance that we have here. Just give me a second. We can pull that up real quick. And I just want to make sure that we have it, Mrs. Palmieri is not here, but this is for the purpose and improvements of a couple of things. I'm going to read them briefly. A is for the information technology, B is for fire department, C is for police department, D is for engineering department, E is for public works, F would be buildings and grounds, and G would be park and recreation. And the total amount of that would be 2.2 million. It's actually $2,220,546. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Do we have any discussion? None.
No?
Mr. Jackson, you had an email that you had sent kind of related to this. You want to kind of briefly go over that a little bit?
Sure, I asked for us to try and find some type of middle ground so that we could approve this and include some improvements to Peterson Field.
I appreciate that.
Council President,
Yes, Mr. Jeniak?
What's the status of posting to referendum the improvements to Peterson Field that we had voted on earlier this year?
You know what, we can address that right after we have some discussion concerning Mr. Jackson's inquiry that he had, if that's okay. Is that okay, Mr. Jeniak?
Thank you.
Great, thank you. In all fairness, Mr. Quinn and Mr. Jeniak, I just passed around to the other council members that were here some information, some documentation from Denville, Rockaway Borough, Dover, and Randolph. And we've had some discussions with regard to this capital ordinance that was here, and then Mr. Jackson was talking about some compromise. And I believe that we had at our last budget hearing, when we had some discussions and putting things on referendum, when we had consent of all of us at the time, there was also a motion that was made to put those improvements for Peterson Field on referendum. And I think our deadline is August 16th in order to do that for the November election. And then we had an ordinance that was put up, and it passed the introduction, and unfortunately it failed, which ultimately stopped a lot of necessary improvements and purchases of goods and services that would affect the taxpayers, the fire department, and life-saving equipment, as well as the police. So with that being said, I went to some of our neighboring towns and looked at their courts. And in all fairness, I didn't ask. Mr. Jackson, did you have an opportunity to go to any other courts?
No.
No. Mr. Sackett? Mr. Freelander? Mrs. Abrahamson?
No.
Mrs. Smith? Did you? I don't know if Mr. Jeniak or Mr. Quinn had gone to any places, but I did, and I took photos. And I wanted to show you the courts that are there. You'll see Denville, which is Gardner Field. You should see Heady Field or Heady Park, which is in Rockaway Borough. You should see the two recreation areas in Randolph. I think it's one is Bergen Field, and the other one is Freedom Field that are over there. And then in Dover, there's Crescent Field. Now, Freedom Field and Randolph, and when you notice it, the courts are just standard courts. There's really very little benches that are there. Some have two courts. Dover has two courts, and then they have two half courts combined together. And then Randolph has two courts each in each park. And of course, Rockaway, we kind of have three courts. All of the courts that are in those other municipalities are of regulation. They're 84 feet or 94 feet that are there. They have some lighting or some old lighting that's there. But I wanted to bring your attention to the front page of the packet that I gave you. And this is actually something that just took place in Randolph in the last year. And it's their basketball courts. And if you can turn to Freedom Park, the picture, it might be on the back side. I'll have it noted up there on the top. You see that?
The backside of the next to the
Yeah. It's beautiful. And not only was it was asphalt and it's top coated with multiple colors, and I'm sorry that the public doesn't have this, but this will be made available for the public. It was just something I assembled literally 10 minutes before the meeting commenced. What they did there was they did a renovation on their basketball court. And the cost of just the basketball court, but their project also included driveway ingress or egress that's there, some accessibility, some landscaping and stuff like that, in addition to what you see in that picture of Freedom Park. The other towns didn't do any improvements. That's just the condition that they've been, somewhat similar to what we have now. And the cost of all of that was only $102,000. Now here we're asking in our capital fund, which seems to be somewhat of a contentious question that's going on here, for almost 500 grand. Now it's not all for the basketball court, but a large portion of that is. None of these areas have an outdoor score box or scoreboard. Dealing with Mr. Newman, who is the rec director in Randolph, they don't even have any kind of scheduled games. It's all pickup games that are there. And I asked a lot of the people that were playing in there. I did have them kind of move out of the way when I took photos, but most of it's all pickup games in all the neighboring towns. But with all of the other improvements that were on that estimate, or I should say that's actually the cost that was submitted of the invoice, and it was almost 18 items, which include paving and other things and the improvements of the parking, was a total of $133,000. So I think there's something that we need to look at a little bit more in regards to what's here, because what Randolph did, just the site preparation alone was $28,000, which was tearing it up and then somewhat prepping it prior to doing any asphalt. And then doing the asphalt mix, which was $21,000, was 150 ton of material. And if you remember last time, Mr. Jackson, you weren't here at that time, last year, we came up with an amount of tonnage, which was 145 if we did a 2-inch base, and then it would be a 220 ton if we did a 3-inch base at Peterson Field now. Usually it's about $60 a ton, so it was just under $14,000 of material. And we do have our DPW that can do those things. I mean, we have an asphalt zipper right now to tear it up. And of course, our DPW guys can definitely lay down pavement like they've done in the past for our roads that, you know, we all travel on, including our family and children. But there's some other expenses as far as the coating surfaces and stuff like that, which were $30,000. Some of the turf area that they had for $5,000. And the basketball equipment, which was all the nets, the backboards, and the actual supports, they were only $15,000 for 4 of them. Now, I don't have the invoice or price estimate that we received from Keller Kirkpatrick. I've asked for it, I haven't received it. But they were $10,000 a piece, where in here, they were only under $4,000 a piece. So there's definitely something of pricing that's going on. Mr. Fierro, and I believe Mrs. Ferrante knows Mr. Fierro, you know Paul? He did all this. He's a part-time engineer for Randolph. He did all the plans and whatnot, and I included the plans in his package that was there. There's a substantial amount of difference here. You know, the bleachers, I think, were one thing that were added in there. I think there was some excavation for some retaining walls and whatnot. Randolph said they only put benches there. They weren't doing any bleachers of any sort. So, you know, tonight we're voting on something that's important to move the town forward from everything we got. We got grants that aren't super time sensitive or coming up to that eventually, correct? And I think after we do this, we can then maybe have some conversations. What Randolph did, and I'm gonna end on this, Randolph got the community involved, not just like the rec family, but they got the entire town involved. They had numerous amount of meetings that were open to the public for the sole purpose of this reconstruction that they were doing. In addition to that, they actually had an online survey that they did where people would then make their comments online. And my first question was, well, how do you know that it isn't a duplicate person, you know, that keeps hitting the same button? They monitor IP addresses. So there's a way to see if it's a duplicate and repetitive person to try to do that. And then they had a meeting of the minds of professionals, contractors, administration, their governing body, and they came up with an overall plan. In addition to that, they also came up with a master plan over a 10-year period of time to do these improvements for Freedom Park. And they purchased more property over on Calais Road. This isn't about Randolph, but I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel, and I think the best flattery is somewhat mimicking somebody else's good work. And I think that if Randolph was able to capitalize on this in that manner, maybe we need to look into it a little bit more and have a little bit better planning than, you know, just a small little 4-page presentation of a Peterson plan that doesn't really include anything in it. And we have some facts here of actual documents that have been paid and work that's been performed and engineers that we have a connection with. Maybe we can see if we can save that amount of money. I mean, if there's a possibility of saving $250,000 just on the basketball courts to put into something else. You know, they have a rec center that's phenomenal that they do over there. They have a preschool that runs out of that rec center, so it's a revenue generator. So I just hope that maybe we can look at this moving forward rather than penalize all the other improvements. You know, we just don't need to always get 8 slices out of the pie. If we can give up a couple and work on this collectively and move forward with a really good plan to save some money and maybe add some additional improvements to Peterson Field Complex with the money that we save. So I don't have too much more to add to that, but if you guys have any comments or criticism on that, I welcome it right now if you have anything.
I don't have any criticism. I just got this, so I got to go through it, obviously. It was just handed to me. I did, as I mentioned, I'd be willing to talk about looking at the cost for the Peterson improvements and eliminating things like the scoreboard and talking about what it would cost then. But I don't have that level of detail, and I wanted that. I'd like to have that to compare to this and talk through it before, because I can't change this, right? I'm not allowed to, because I voted no.
Yeah, well, you would want to change what, to add the 500 and...
No, not the whole amount, like I talked about. I'd like to find some type of mid-ground, because I do think the playground needs to be repaired. I do think the tennis courts, that's just I'm not speaking for everybody else, I'm speaking for myself. And I do think there's some middle ground on the basketball courts that we can reach. But I can't make changes to this to accommodate that.
But Mr. Jackson, just so you know, though, there's money that is being put aside for it to go on referendum, and if it passes, it gets taken care of. But hopefully we don't, just because we put a number on there, we just don't spend that number because we can. We owe it to the taxpayers to try to get the best bang for our buck and save money that's going there. Nobody's turning it down. If in fact that it's such a good idea, it would be very hard for me to believe that the taxpayers would turn that down. But perhaps if there's a money-saving plan in place, again, you even said you haven't really reviewed anything. You've asked for it.
I haven't reviewed any revised proposal. I reviewed the first one, yes. And that's why I said I'd like to see some revisions to it to not include things like the scoreboards and things.
Right, and things that are there.
So I have reviewed. I just haven't received anything further to review.
Yeah, if I could get the same courtesy that Mr. Jackson, I would love to have the same material that he reviewed.
I didn't, no.
No, he
The
hasn't
original.
received anything yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I reviewed that, and I understand the cost for the tennis courts, the cost for, but I don't know the detail of the basketball court.
Right,
Yeah.
only from my memory that was on there number-wise, there's
Right.
just a substantial amount of difference in
And that's
cost.
why that's why I asked for kind of a breakdown of what everything costs.
But we can still do that and still have something that puts on a referendum and moving forward with that, or modifying anything that we have following this. But we have a large amount of items here that we need to move forward on, rather than just... Mr. Sackett, was there something?
I want to move forward on other projects. I want to move forward on the library, but we have cut the expense from $40,000 down to $17,500. So some other projects that we have to move forward on, we're not moving forward on.
And you know what, Mr. Jackson?
Can I just say something? In all this time, they could have gotten tons of bids to do that for the 17.5. That's the whole purpose of the 17.5, is to go out to competitive bidding. And we've had months of 17.5, and I haven't seen any bids, I'm sorry.
But in all fairness too, Mr. Sackett, and I understand where you're coming from, but prior to late 2017 down, before we were all council members that were here, for most of us other than Mr. Quinn, but even when Mr. Freelander was a prior councilman before he got reelected again, there was a threshold of 17.5, things would go out to bid to do that. When that threshold was reduced back in January or February 26th, I believe, or was it the 22nd of January?
It was February.
But since then, you said last time, you haven't sent anything out to bid.
Are you going to ask me why?
No, I just asked you,
Okay.
have you sent anything out to bid?
No.
Okay.
I'd like to know why.
So when we have...
So would I.
So when we have those things to go out to bid, like we've had in the past, there's a possibility of those things coming in far less than what you would automatically spend, right? There's always that possibility.
There's also a possibility when you're talking about the difference between 17.5 and 40, that it's going to probably cost you more with advertising, council, going out to bid specs, and professional costs. So right now I have a project that you asked about last week about fixing the library.
Yeah.
That came in under $30,000. It could have been fixed in 2 days or 3 days with just quotes that are competitive, that we could make sure are good. We don't have to go out to bid to make sure that a project is worthy. But we can't do that because we're waiting now for the specs to be done, for the professional to do them, and then we're going to have to advertise it.
So why
that all
didn't you bring
costs
those
time
bids
and
to
more
us?
money. Excuse me?
Why didn't you bring Why didn't you bring the $30,000 bid to us?
I can't bring the bid to you. You need to understand the law. If it's on over 17.5, I don't bring it to you till after I go out to bid.
Well, you
don't
just
see
said
it-
you had bids on it.
No,
No,
I
she
have
didn't say.
quotes on it, on the
Okay.
project, okay?
That's
It's a
different.
very good price to get it fixed, but I can't fix it because it's over 17.5. So now I have to spend more money because I have to get a professional to write the bid specs. I have to go out to bid, I have to have an attorney look at it. Then when I go out to bid 2 months later, when it comes back in, it's going to be more than the bid I got for quotes.
But
So
how do you
that's
know
why
that?
there isn't anything for 17.5.
How do you know that, though, Mrs. Seeger? Like when you came in 2012, all the way up until for 5
Because
years.
we saved a lot of money in those years with the 40,000 threshold.
But you didn't have the 40,000 threshold pre-17.
Never.
I wasn't, I know that, but we had it afterwards. We didn't have as many
But
problems.
And we
why
functioned
would
with
you
the
wait so long if it was such a
17.5.
savings?
We functioned with the 17.5 bid threshold for at least 40 years. Now we can't?
But back then, the 17.5 wasn't as high as the 40,000 now. Things cost more money, and it's going to cost you more for that library, I will guarantee it.
Well, maybe you should show us some of the bids and put it out there. I mean, how long ago was the library injured or damaged?
I don't know.
You don't know how long ago it was?
No.
Was it in 2019?
No, it's this year.
Okay. But it was in January. It was in the cold months that it happened.
I don't know if it was the cold.
So like maybe
It didn't explode because of the
5 months. If we could have sent out bids and done all that now.
except we have to, we didn't have any money for the professionals when the number was only 25%.
Okay.
It's been
Do you have an answer
75.
to Mr. Jackson?
What answer?
I don't know. You were looking for an answer from Mrs. Seeger.
Yeah, I wanted to know why she hadn't sent out the bid, and she explained it, because she didn't have the money to pay the professionals.
Yes,
But she did.
Yes, she did.
She did.
Yes, she did. Yes, she did. So we have a, is there any other discussion? No?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Clerk, will you do the roll?
Councilmember Quinn?
No.
Councilmember Friedlander?
No.
Councilmember Judenak?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett?
No.
Councilmember Jackson?
No.
Vice President Abrahamson?
Yes.
President Kelly?
Yes, we got 4 yeses, 4 noes, 0 abstentions. Motion fails.
So the town is at a standstill again.
So much for compromise, Mr. Jackson.
Council
Don't
President,
put that on me.
I did.
Good for you.
Go ahead.
could you please read the list of projects that just failed?
I'll read it again.
Read them for a year and a half.
Mr. Freelander, that's not necessary. Over a basketball court, they want to spend over $250,000 on. A is the information technology, B is the fire department, which is various equipment, airbags, scuba, alert pagers, turnout gear, stabilization equipment. Police department is the acquisition of Power Edge Exchange server with software and professional Toughbook laptops. Engineering department, which includes King Road improvements, Mount Pleasant Ave Road improvements, Lake Aim Dam rehab, and Lake Egbert's Dam rehab. Public Works would be the road surfacing program. Fuel island renovations for the DPW facility, wheel loader, the pickup, acquisitions of a heavy computer analyzer. Buildings and grounds would be the HVAC, Phase 2. The senior center interior building improvements and acquisition of a digital sign of a municipal building. And then the park and recs would be a pickup truck with a plow and a lift gate. That's what we voted down for. At this time, we're going to go to open to the public. Mr. Lardy?
Michael Lardy, 19 North Brookside Drive.
How you doing, Mr. Lardy?
Good, how are you?
Good.
I'd like to, at least from what I saw, congratulate everybody that ran in this last election. I didn't see any negative campaigning. I'm not on social media, so it could have been on that venue, but anywhere else I didn't see anything. A few things I have. On the corner of West Lakeshore Drive and Old Middletown, there's some bushes on a corner property that really block the view of cars coming down Old Middletown, coming down the hill, and you end up having to inch your way out into the intersection. If the people are making a left onto West Lakeshore, you kind of end up with the hood of your car when they're cutting the corner, because it's hard to see. And it's just one bush. If they lopped half of it off, it would be much more visible to see the cars as they come over the crest of that hill. Mount Hope Road, I heard you mention paving on different roads. That road gets mutilated by the trucks going to Tilcon. I mean, when you...
Ave or road?
Whatever it is. I've lived here 28 years. I couldn't tell you which one was which.
From the mall, Foxville?
From the mall, yeah.
okay.
Even getting off 80, the exit ramps are beat to death. The only place that's good is the bridge, which is concrete. It would be great if that road could be concrete, because it constantly needs to be redone. That and the gravel and stuff that's on that road from the trucks is always a mess.
Yeah.
Can I answer?
Yeah, absolutely.
I recently spoke to the county about that.
Microphone.
Oh, I recently spoke to the county representatives about that, and they're telling me that it's in the budget for next year to pave from Mount Hope Avenue to Mount Pleasant Avenue, which would be that whole, so I guess we're going to have to wait another year.
I just think Tilcon should have some responsibility
They should.
to it, because those trucks, I mean, the weights on those trucks and the way they fly off the road.
I don't know if they buy the material, get material from them, if there's something.
Yeah, I mean, there might be something going on, but it should be done more often, or
Yeah,
We
they
could
just,
ask-
they sucked it up and did it in concrete, it would be done for 50 years.
Mr. D'Agostino is somebody that we can reach out to in the county, or Mr.
They don't make
St.
concrete
John.
up there, they make asphalt, so. I've mentioned before, 14 Cayuga, that house. It has not been mowed since last year when I brought it up, and the town did something. You guys contacted somebody, and it was mowed. But since then, the leaves haven't been done, the lawn hasn't been mowed, there's windows missing in the house, the garage is wide open. It's just a disaster area.
I think Allison, I thought they went over there, yeah.
They might have, but nothing's gotten done yet, but just to bring it up again.
Okay.
Is
Sure, it's
is
been
that
followed up on,
is it-
but-
is-
Towards it.
Mrs. Fronte, is it like a foreclosure or something like that?
I think it's bank-owned, so we're running after that. And we've issued notices of violations, but the address has changed, so violations have been issued, and then we're following up on them.
All right, I'm willing to mow it if they pay me. I know the gazebo has come up about handicap ramps or something. Something to consider would be just a handicap lift. It's all landscaped, you already have power there. And to rip up the landscaping and put, a maze of a handicap ramp to get up there, a lift might be more cost effective.
Well, under the ADA compliancy, I think it's Chapter 11 of the Uniform Construction Code, there's a transition plan where things that aren't compliant, like if you had an office on the second story, but it wasn't handicap accessible, you didn't have to put an elevator in if you were able to move it down to the first story where it was accessible. In that case, anything that's sponsored by government, in this case the municipality, there would have to be some type of a ramp or temporary lift or some sort of that to meet that transition.
Right, but I'm saying a lift instead of a ramp. I think,
Well, either way, I mean.
well, I'm not saying not to do anything, but I'm saying to consider a lift, because I think it might be more cost effective than building a ramp and ripping up the landscaping that's already there.
I think it was like almost 90 feet of
Ramp
that.
to get
It was
that
a 3-1 pitch, and, yeah, for ramp to
Exactly,
go in
and
there,
you can get a
that met
lift.
some of that octagon.
Didn't we make a request?
We did.
Told it's not happening.
No, at the time, our past mayor had said that he would look into that.
Mayor, who's it we talked to about it? I thought we did anyway. Okay.
I did go to Rockaway Day just to see what it was about. I had plans that day, so I didn't have much time after work. But I really didn't understand the $5 admission fee to then spend money on either food or to look at vendors soliciting their businesses. I mean, basically, it was like the street fair in Denville, which there's no fee for. I know they had the fireworks later at night, but you could see the fireworks without going into the field and not pay the $5. But I just didn't understand the fee for that.
Mr. Sackett, do you have anything on that?
We're waiting to get the final numbers back, but we did charge a fee so we can get money back to the town for the recreation department. So I don't have the final numbers, but once we do, it'll be a nice amount back.
That's what it was for?
And then with that, could you see how much it cost us for the additional cops that weren't compensated by her? A lot of DPW and recreation and recycling were involved.
Police were paid by the vendor.
Just the police, right? And there was an admin fee that was waived and stuff like that as well?
I don't have all the details right now.
I thought that she had dealt with you directly.
Did?
Okay.
And I'd just like to invite all of you to White Meadow Lake Festival Day weekend. It's July 19th through the 21st. The parade is at 11 o'clock. We meet at Calumet, and you're welcome to walk in it.
Are you the top water skier on top of the shoulders?
What, say that again?
Are you the top water skier on
No, I'm on the bottom. I hold them all up. You just have to look closely. And after our little opening ceremonies at noon there, the bar will be open. It's completely renovated. It'll be open hopefully very soon. I don't want to say a date if it doesn't happen. But a lot of volunteers did a lot of planning with that, and it's, we're very proud of how it came out and the work that volunteers put in.
The inside looks phenomenal where your main room is that you guys did over some time ago. But
The ballroom, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, the wainscot that you have all around.
Yeah.
I mean, the trim and the paint, I mean, it looks really, really good.
Yeah, we're trying to do one thing at a time, and now the bar, which needed renovation for decades, has finally been done and done right. And the water ski show is on your agenda tonight. If you have any questions, I think you have all the documentation you need, but I'm here if you have any questions on that.
Great, thank you for that.
Thank you.
That's it? Great, thanks again, Mr. Lurie.
Thank you.
Mr. Press?
Dave Press, 71 Oakland Avenue. Glad to see Mr. Palumbo is no longer here. Thank the recall committee for their successful efforts. Hopefully there'll be a quality replacement as good as Councilman Jackson has been since he took over Mayor Puzio's council seat, and hopefully that'll continue with the next two replacements. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Press. Mr. Dio?
Patrick Dio, 11 Valley Road. I noticed that the closed session minutes of April 23rd were approved. And at that meeting, the resolution said that, one of the things the resolution said was that there was going to be discussion of the Bowlbyville issue, and that the results of that closed session were going to be disclosed to the public within 60 days of that meeting. And if it wasn't going to be disclosed within 60 days of that meeting, that there would be and noted that why it wasn't and what the additional extended date. So my question is, the minutes of that closed session, are they going to be published on the website? And are those minutes going to disclose what's going on with Bowlbyville and the results of that meeting?
Mr. Dio, and I can maybe revert that over to Mr. Yatrafano, but there was some litigation regarding the Bowlbyville report. There was some discussion that we had regarding Bowlbyville and the assessment that was there. There was also some further discussion of potential litigation as a result of pursuing those assessments that are on there. So I think that because of potential litigation and some current litigation that's there, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Yatrafano, maybe we would extend that time frame for that minutes in order to be not open to the public.
That was the intent of the original resolution, Council President.
I'm sorry?
That was the intent of the original resolution.
I believe it says it right in there. If there's any further, it would be known.
Yeah.
So
I'm not an attorney, but if you read the resolution says that the results of that meeting dealing with Bowlbyville will be 60 days There was also another item that was going to be discussed at that closed session, and that had to do with the litigation between Mayor Puzio and the council, and that specifically said that the results would be made known to the public within 90 days. The resolution further went on to say that if the results wasn't to be disclosed within those timeframes, that there would be a notice of extension and what that extension period would be. So obviously, something needs to be done, and I don't know legally what needs to be done. I would assume that there would need to be another resolution extending that 60-day time period and the reasons why. It seems that this Bowieville thing is just going on and on and on. And so I would appreciate if the council and administration and the attorney would advise the public as to what needs to be done. Dealing with Bowieville, I was a little confused with the auditor's comment with respect to Bowieville. And I am concerned. I haven't seen the audit report. I would hope that it's going to get tomorrow be put on the website so that we can all see it. But to me, it's a repetitive action. It's a deficit that's been in the audit reports for at least going back to 2007. To me, that's a repeat flaw. And I think the auditor, in my opinion, without seeing the audit report, it might be remiss in not presenting it as a corrective action and it not being part of the corrective action plan with respect to the lack of assessment of those charges. And so I hope that that audit report is going to be on the website tomorrow so that we can get it. I note that the Financial Review Board was promised a copy of that report once it was presented to the township so that we had an opportunity to review it. And to my knowledge, I didn't get a copy. I don't know if any member of the review board got a copy of it. Second thing, another thing I'd like to talk about is the I think I covered it. I got the audit report. Like, is that going to be published on the website tomorrow?
I think it's, Mrs. Seeger, do we have that in a PDF or a Word?
The audit?
Yeah.
I will check Lisa's back tomorrow, and I will check with Ray and Lisa.
And if we have it, I mean, it's something.
We always put it up.
Yeah, we just don't have it. And I believe the auditor only made so many copies of this book to provide it out of there. It might have been an inadvertent error. It wasn't intentional, of course, of only making so many and not passing it to the Financial Review Board. Mm-hmm. But if we can by tomorrow, Mrs. Palmieri gets back.
I think we put it up after it's all signed and everything, and the council has to sign it. So as soon as we have all that, we'll be happy to put it up.
But if it takes a little bit longer to get everybody's signature on there, is there something maybe tomorrow we can at least send to the members of the Financial Review Board?
I don't see why not.
Okay. If anything, we can give you a direct email, and in the meantime, when we're getting all the signatures to complete that, to put it in a PDF and then put it up online, we'll do that.
All right, thank you. I do have one other thing.
Go ahead.
I don't understand Mrs. Sager's comment with respect to why, after 5 months, the repair of the library hasn't been put out to bid. I find it difficult to think that with the staff that we have a engineering staff, we have a financial department, and we do have legal assistance, how it would cost so many thousands and thousands of dollars to put out a bid for potentially $30,000 worth of work. I find that hard to believe, and I don't believe that the response that you got, Mr. Jackson, is appropriate to just say that we haven't gotten the professionals to do that. I think that work should have been put out to bid 5 months ago. And I think that to say that we should bring the threshold to $40,000 as an excuse is an improper excuse. The township requirement is 17.5 right now. We get a new council here maybe in a year, they can change it if they want to. But right now it's 17.5. Administration should be adhering to that 17.5, and not making excuses that they don't have the money to put it out to bid. Thank you.
And also, Mr. Dio and Mrs. Seeger, I think you can agree that out of the 39 municipalities in Morris County, not everybody has a $40,000 threshold. So other municipalities that are the size of Rockaway do 17.5, and there's no issue, no complaint.
I can tell you this, I think you all know I'm a CPA, I have a lot of business clients. Most of my business clients are small, closely held companies. Some of them have budgets that are equal to or better than what we have here. Some of them are smaller. But I can tell you, most of the large companies I have, they have a threshold of $10,000 before the CEO or the CFO can approve an expenditure. And we're talking 17.5 for a municipality. I don't find that onerous. And I think that we should live by it and try to do the best that we can to save this municipality money. I think that's what we're all here for. Thank you.
And then, Mr. Dio, just in ending, it is posted online on the website now, not on our Facebook page yet, but they just posted it, Mr. Dyer, the request for commissioners for volunteers to assist in the Bobbyville assessment.
It's not posted as of yet.
Did someone ask you?
It's still being reviewed.
No, I spoke with Mr. Yachafano about the advertisement that could be placed on the website, and it is posted on the website. As far as having specifics for Bowlbyville, it doesn't contain that, but it does have all of our ordinance information that explains the duties of the commission.
Did you put it up?
Yeah.
Where'd you put it? On the
website?
Right on the front page, the newsflash where we normally do our volunteers.
Okay.
And if you could put it on Facebook too, our Facebook page?
I can.
Great.
I didn't know it was up.
We've been asking to put it up for quite some time.
Nobody let me know they put it up.
Thank you, Mrs. Singer.
Request for volunteers for the commission for the...
Yeah, we're looking for, you have three members that would be on there, and then there's alternates and stuff like that are there. So if you have an interest in being on that, or anybody in the audience or that's a resident of Rockaway, you're more than welcome to inquire about it and submit it to the clerk.
I missed it.
It would be on the front page of the website of the news alert.
Mr. Dio, if you have trouble finding it on the website, it should be right on the home page. If you want to give me a call or email me tomorrow, I can send it to you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Dio was the last to sign in, but anybody that wishes to speak? Come on up, Mrs. Gray.
Hi, Stacy Gregg, Rockaway Township, mailing address Wharton, New Jersey still. I'm not here to talk about that. I actually like what Mr. Dio had to say. Normally we're at odds, but thank you for speaking, Mr. Dio. My question to the council is how many of you have, and I've asked this a year ago, how many of you have actually gone to a different council meeting and seen it? I know some of our experts, the attorney works for other towns, and maybe some of the other people that were on the sides have been to other council meetings. But how many of you actually seen another town that runs under the Faulkner Act and in operation? How they function, how they speak to each other, how they cooperate with each other, how they get information on everything. Has anyone here?
Yeah, but I don't think it's just the Faulkner Act. I think any form of government, whether...
You've been to other councils?
Yes.
Okay, but what I was asking is for the rest, but I don't want to take up my time.
No, that's
unless
okay.
It's okay to ask them.
You go as long as you want.
So I'd like to know and then the other question is, we have somebody on the phone. I'd like to get to the bottom of this, why we have these phone-in things. I've never seen a phone-in person at another council meeting anywhere, and I've gone to a lot of council meetings. This is an oddity happening in Rockaway Township, but I'm interested in Mr. Jednak, how many other council meetings he's gone to other towns, as well as everyone else here. Is there anyone else on the phone?
Mr. Quinn's on the phone, too.
Mr. Quinn, you too? Have you been to
But
other
the
towns?
phone, Mrs. Gregg, just, the phone allows members of the governing body who are not able to attend for whatever reason it may be.
But they're elected to attend, mister.
Well, they're participating in that. I mean, I would rather have them on the phone than not participate at all.
I would rather have them, if they're not here.
Primarily, yes.
I'd rather not hear from them if they're not here. There's a lot to take in, there's a lot of nuances with people talking that needs to be visually seen, and I thank you for having the video. But they were elected to be here, and if they can't be here, everybody understands that, 2 or 3 meetings a year. But to be here and to not be able to participate 100%, we don't have a situation set up where people that are homebound in the middle of an illness or something else, childcare. We have a lot of people complaining that for years, I had children, I couldn't get out here. Do I get to ask my questions over the phone of my representatives? No, we're not set up for that. No other town does this. This is some oddity that somebody, while you have been running the majority, has set up, where it's an acceptable thing. Every single meeting, we're having to try and adjust the microphones, and what did he say? What did you say? Is it your turn? What's going on? It's disruptive. I'm just going to put that out there.
Okay. I've seen it in other towns. So, I mean, I know that it does happen. And again,
I hope is there a reporting incident on how many times? Do we have a record of how many times each person has done this somewhere?
I haven't done accounting on that, no.
Because you've managed to maintain a majority for this town for quite a long time and play games, political games, which we don't want to go back on. We're not going to play anymore. It's broken up, and we can all be nice. Talking about being nice, sorry to cut you off, but I really do want to go back to the towns. Patterson is a Faulkner town as well. And I just want to put it out there. We can have disagreements. I've known some of you on here many years, and we've disagreed on some things, and the majority, some of us agree on everything from our political point of view. But you can have a disagreement with someone, and it doesn't make them into a mortal enemy, or they're on this side or that. I'm not on any side. I just want to, I want the truth out here with what stuff that's going on. Mrs. Smith, who I'm totally opposed to. I'm not a Republican. I am on paper, but I'm not. Helped me out, and I'm very appreciative, Mrs. Smith.
Mrs. Gregg, can we kind of stick to the topic?
The topic is Patterson's a Faulkner Act town.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's much larger as far as money being spent. This 17.5, it doesn't cost you that much to get a bid on anything. This political toying back and forth, and it doesn't mean in any way that I'm with the majority. I'm just saying, enough, let's move on. Let's stop the theatrics of having headlines, the town is frozen and somebody's done it, and enough with the political toying, okay?
Thank you.
No, it's not for you. It's for my town, because I would not do anything for one person, okay? It's for my town. I want it to move on. It's very easy to get bids. They don't cost anything. Everybody here should be getting 3 and 4 bids on, if they have the time, unless they're getting good references on having their roof done, or different things, additions to their homes. I don't want blank checks being written to attorneys. Definitely not after what I went through here in the last year and a half with that illegal attorney trying to get in on here. But to play games and to say that the town is frozen, that's not good advice either, and that's BS. And 17.5 Patterson manages to operate. I went to their meeting, and I went to several of their meetings, and that was because of police brutality, which I'm going to throw in here on my tangent and come back to Patterson. Thank God, and thank you for the officers of Rockaway Township. Thank you for having the body cams, and thank you for doing your jobs, and thank you for not being on the list of excessive force. We have a town, one town over that a lot of us drive through and do a lot of business through, and it's frightening for my children to have to go through that town. So I'm going to come back to not playing games in Patterson. The reason I was there was because of police brutality situation. They managed to get along and take bids and vote. They got their bids, and then they would do a vote. Nobody had carte blanche. I don't understand this grandstanding. It's not that I'm against anybody. It's not personal for Mrs. Seeger or anybody who's along with her. It's a matter of do your jobs. Get the bids. Stop playing the politics part. It's supposed to be a nonpartisan job, running the government, running Rockaway Township. I want to know, I wanted to know with the lawyers. I didn't want them to have a blank check open. Okay, so let's move on. Let's get this town going. So besides Mr. Kelly, I don't know how many of you have gone to other council meetings and seen how they run. We had a big problem, a little learning curve. Everybody seemed to have gotten on board with the, what's it called that we're using?
Robert's rules.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Jackson. I told you about.
I've been to several other towns, Council.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Because I know I did have to talk about Robert's rules when some of you came onto the board, and I did mention how important it was to be familiar with them. All right. I mentioned the body cams. Let me just see. I did the calling it in. I did the recording of all committee meetings. Oh, I didn't do that. I had a development go, and thank you again to the clerk for her help. She was very helpful. I kept asking and asking, what's going on? What's going on across the street from me? First I was told, oh, they're cutting some trees down. Oh, you know, no one was telling the clerk what was going on. No, there was a development putting in things for across the street from me, which is wetlands. When Mr. Ingosino was trying to put in the Mary Hart, and he wanted to build over wetlands, and he took their money for months and months, and I got proper notification. I did not get proper notification. None of my neighbors got proper notification regarding the new development going in, taking over the buildings that had been abandoned. We all showed up here. Not one house was missing, but we had to do it on our own. We did not get properly served. They played games. No one would tell the clerk what was going on. For 3 weeks, I'm seeing things on trees, and I'm coming into the office here. What's going on across the street? What's going on across the street? No, the bushes that are marked, they're not on the side of the road to get cut. They're in the middle of the wetlands in the middle. And then I finally found out that there's a thing, the street is not going to be going up the middle of the wetlands, but I would like to be part of the planning part of it. That development was supposed to give the library and this building a lot more parking and a lot more sense of Rockaway Township, so we could have big events in our area. And I know there are laws. If the impact on the wetlands is greater to a greater good of the public, they do have laws to negotiate on how much is covered by blacktop or not. There's other ways of doing roads. But the road, if you look at it and you Google the map of this building and the library, there's a road already there called, I think it's Constitution. And that's what was supposed to be happening. And now the new developers going in, they seem to be very good, from what I can investigate. They're only going to do one of the two buildings. And they're very open to doing stuff and having another egress, another way. Because when you're talking about a building of over 58 people over age 55, wouldn't you want the police and the health department and all the things, wouldn't you want them to have closer access than having to go all the way around? You know, if there's a heart attack or something, I want my first responder to get to that building. So I'm just going to put that out there.
The Board of Adjustment that you attended, I was in the audience when you were there.
Oh, they wouldn't allow me to record.
But they addressed that. I mean, that's...
No, the mayor addressed it. Yes, yeah. I'm very grateful to the mayor. He stepped in and had to say something.
There's Torres versus Pine Hill that addressed it, actually.
Because that attorney that was there didn't know the law.
Yeah, but there was a lot of discussion that you had on there as far as the form of egress. There's another way of egress through Fox Hills. That was just an additional form of egress for EMT, but they're going to do those improvements and make it to because Mr. Babcock was addressing that very diligently about the road, the condition of it, the accessibility of it currently right now.
There was another meeting that happened regarding that project?
No, you were there. And
okay,
Mr. Babcock, our fire marshal, was addressing that for a safe form of egress in the event that somebody was to get hurt or injured or when they were living there.
Right,
so
there's no way to get around on Pond Road with a fire truck in an emergency.
But they were going over that. I remember I believe
right, but we didn't go over the part of them trying to join in to the back and come into this parking lot. There's a road that's already adjusted, like already mapped out on the
I think that was one of the prior approvals of the previous.
It was a prior approval because he got in saying that he was going to have
Can I just let Mr.
all sorts of things.
Yachafano?
Yes, please.
A number of years ago, potential developers approached Mayor Datchison about getting access through the municipal parking lot to curve up and around the back of the library to get access to the site. That proposal was addressed and evaluated by our then town engineer, Jim Lutz, and it was impossible to put the additional roadway in at that location because it required DEP setbacks in terms of the stream that runs adjacent to the property here. It was just impossible. Then there was a question of access across one of the streets that's north of here on Mount Hope. And there was some speculative access about that street, which was a very narrow municipal street, being able to give adequate access. So the people that were pursuing that development, and it never even reached the stage of board application, decided to abandon the proposal. But the access through the municipal parking lot just could not be DEP compliant, according to the investigations of Mr. Lutz, our town engineer at that time.
Okay, so besides revisiting that, which I would like to do, and see that backup information regarding what Mr. Lutz, your reporting Mr. Lutz found would be important to take a look at for the new. We have files of this, correct?
I don't know what files were preserved or were not preserved, but I do remember meetings and discussions and the inability to put additional road surface in at that location.
Well, they have a road back there, and they have a station set up where they go.
No, I'm not talking about the road that's in back of the library.
You're talking over here.
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
I'm
It's
talking about
continuing that
getting access-
road. It's a
getting
service
access-
road.
Getting access to the municipal building, to the back of the library through the municipal parking lot, and the additional road work and paving that would have had to been done was simply non-DEP compliant.
Okay, well, not every road is paved, not every driveway is paved, so it would be porous. There are other ways of doing, things have evolved since Mr. Lutz was here. So,
I don't think so.
I think they have, and I think we found out that for other reasons, things didn't get done that should have probably gotten done, such as, I don't have, for this committee that's being formed for the Bowlby, I couldn't be on the committee because I don't have sewers yet on my road. And I've been asking for years and years, as well as tons of other residents, and we've always been told by the town that they didn't have a plan. And yet, lo and behold, we have all this new development, and there's water and sewer and everything available for them, but not for our other streets. I have a house that literally 6 houses away from where the, on Old Middletown Road, where the water line stops. There's no rhyme or reason for it. And there are 2 new homes that across from here on Mount Hope Road, they hooked up behind them to water. So where there's a will, there's a way, and if you have good friends, things get done. But I don't know the timeline. I don't know if it's 2025 or 2030, but, you know, my kids might be here. I'd like to get a timeline on when we're going to get these other places. I don't want to pay for somebody else's sewers. I want my own sewers. Now, I was able to get water because we had somebody like yourself, a different attorney at the time, saying, oh no, Mr. Salkind, he's gone, and yeah, we don't know, we'll have to look in the records. And oh, lo and behold, there was a verbal from him when he was trying to get his approval, besides him getting the approval because he was going to put up 2 senior citizen extra care, I got water. So I would like to know when is the plan? Where is the town plans for going forward? Where do we have these plans?
Well, I don't believe there's any plan, and I don't...
There's no master plan in our town? That's what I was asking. I couldn't think
You know, from 1970 all the way up to 06, I think, was the final sewer installment, and Bowlbyville being the last one.
What do you mean final, Mr. Tucker? They had sewers in the new thing on Green Pond.
But I'm saying that the projects they have that are going on for sewer, I mean, we have Richard Mine Road between Mount Hope Ave and Mount Hope Road, that people would love to be on sewer that are there, but it's just not feasible to get that there. I think one person connected and went through the backyard of somebody because of the only access to get to the sewer line that's over on Mount Hope Avenue. I think Sergeant Ionelli, I mean, it's a problem, right? You're not the only one that has that. But just keep in mind, if there's only 6 homes and you were putting in some kind of a sewer project in there and the cost factor of that, dividing it up by the 6 properties for the overall assessment, could be very costly even for the homeowner.
No, it's a 6 left off on that road, and those property frontages are no big. The new mini mansions are a lot longer than the old existing homes.
Mrs. Seeger, is there a way that, so we can just somewhat expedite the public portion here, that Mrs. Gregg, if she can send her concerns over to you in an email, or perhaps Mr. Sheard can respond, because we don't have the information here of what she's asking. I know that I don't, Mrs. Gregg, and I apologize.
She can send me an email.
But perhaps that you can give her some information to where she has something tangible to read, to look at, an email to address, and if it doesn't answer her question, she can follow up, or if there's something that's there that she's satisfied and something doesn't happen, you have something to go back to.
I'm here right now. I'm not doing email. You have my name. You took my address. I'd like an answer. I'm not going to send you an email. I'd like to know what,
Well, I need to know exactly.
I'd like to know when on the master plan I will be getting, when it's on the master plan for me to get sewers.
And how would you like me to contact you?
You could call me up like the old-fashioned way, you know, you pick up the phone. Yeah.
In spirit, just to try to make things a little bit easier, because she's...
I don't use email.
Sometimes Mrs. Seeger can email you.
You could text me.
What's the number?
You want me to put it on the record, my number too?
I have
Okay.
Mrs. Greg's phone number.
Yeah,
I
you've never had a
can
problem
provide it
getting
to you
to
know
me,
what?
have you?
I'll have the clerk, she can send your
Thank you.
information over to Mrs. Seeger, and then she can forward it over to Mr. Shear to maybe get an answer for you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I did want to put this one last thing, not this one. Pass this around. Just pass that. It is Pride Month. There's a few more days left of Pride Month. We're one of the few towns that has not had a flag up. We have a gazebo it could go up on. We have a, underneath the POW flag, if we have one up, it's not, I'm not saying for it to go above the American flag. All over the state of New Jersey, different towns are flying the pride flag. Now, it's a piece of material. It's not threatening, but it saves lives.
I think Mr. Sackett, the mayor said he wasn't willing to do that. I know that was addressed. I know Mr. Sackett has...
Well, the mayor, and you've never listened to the mayor
Well, we
necessarily,
don't
so
control the
did you take a
administration,
vote?
so unfortunately, the administration doesn't listen to us either, so...
Yeah, I know.
Mrs. Gregg, are you...
I'd like an answer on the pride flag.
I just gave you that. The mayor said no.
Well, the mayor, we do this.
I think, Mrs. Seeger, you can address that too with her, with the mayor.
Okay,
Want
I'll
her to
take
do
the
that.
flag back.
You want it back?
It saves, no, I just wanted it on the record because this is the council that this year did not approve to have a flag.
It's not the council
I would
position to do
donate that in a heartbeat if you would put it
The
up,
mayor did a
absolutely.
proclamation.
I'm sorry?
And it didn't have the flag in it, and I'm just saying, it was the month of June, this was the month of June.
Thank you, Mrs.
Did you
Gregg.
read the proclamation into the record?
We did.
Thank you.
It's on the it's on the website and Facebook.
With that being said, is there anybody else in the public that wishes to speak? Go ahead, Mr. Counselor.
Thank you for the time. Dominic Nicasio, 9 Lenox Road, Rockaway, New Jersey.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Under the recreation, I forgot tonight to sign in on it, but I've been wanting to ask you, if there's extra money, I know what's going on, what we just heard with the budget, is there any chance that we could put up in Peterson Field what we call bocce ball courts?
You asked about that last...
I asked a long time
You did.
ago. And it's very competitive, it's fun. They're like six, you could do, it's online, I didn't print it out, but next time I'll bring it. They're about, you could go with the 60-foot long ones. It's very inexpensive to do. The treated lumber, the crushed stone, and this clay, and it requires 4 courts, 2 back-to-back. And in the middle, you have pegboards for scores, and you have teams. And then you have a bench at each one where people could sit. Now, if a good way to look at one is at the Montville State Park up here. We do it on Chamber
Road, yep.
and we go with the Unico Club, and we have competition with it. And it's a fun night, it's a fun day out, you could have a picnic, you could have teams. You could even memorialize these here if you want. And I'd be the first one to try to figure out a number that we could do for a plaque in memory of somebody, for the bench, for the, whatever you want to do.
Sure, and you know what, I mean, Mr. Nicasio, that's what I was talking about when I was dealing with Mr. Newman in Randolph.
They got him in Randolph?
Well, no, they did a survey of things that the community felt that there were needs in their recreational complex that was there.
I don't know, I think there's 2 old ones here, I'm not sure, but they're kind of beat up. And they're not, it's treated lumber, it's like 2 by 12s or whatever it may be. And they're stacked up and they make a big box. But it's online, you could get the dimensions, it's really cheap to do. I think the most expensive thing will be the benches that you want to put in and the pegboard scoreboards. But it could be fun, and it could be something for rec where we could have teams, we could have whatever you want to do with it. You could do a lot with it. I know Unico would come up and try to use them and try to do competition leagues up here. You know, we do it, like I said, in Montville, they do it in Lyndhurst. They think they got them in Garfield yet, if I'm not mistaken. So that's one thing I wanted to bring up. I know if there's money, I know there's a lot going on with the money back and forth right now. Second thing I wanted to ask, and I've been neglecting to do this too, with the sanitation pickup. My area in Fleetwood is Monday and Thursdays. If a holiday comes, we don't get a pickup on Monday. Then we're backed up to Thursday, and we're doubled up. And then with the animals coming, it's hard because then the stuff goes all over the road, and we're trying to keep it clean down here in Fleetwood. Now, sometimes he does, sometimes he does, sometimes he don't.
I'm sorry, Mr. Nicosia, recyclables or just regular garbage?
No, regular trash.
That's your contract.
That's your contract. But that's my next question. Did this town ever consider about putting that into the taxes where it's included in the taxes and we could be able to deduct it? Because right now, it's illegal to deduct the trash pickup under internal revenue. You can't take that off your taxes. And a lot of towns around have that included in. So that's something I'd like to consider, please.
I think some of the towns that do it, I'm not sure, Mr. Yatrafano maybe add, is that, everybody has different contracts with different people. They all don't expire, so then you would have to finish one term, the other term, and, I don't know how you would do that.
Well, it's competitive up here. I know there's the Blue Diamond and there's the Waste Management.
Waste Management. Waste Management does our large garbage in bulk.
But I think if the town contracted it out into the taxes, I think you'll get a better deal than we could get a better deal with, because you're giving them the whole town. And I don't know how long it's been this way. I'm here 17 years I'm going on, and it's always been that we pay outside on our own. But you can't deduct that on your taxes legally. You can. If I'm wrong, you're an accountant. So that's something I would like for this government to consider, and maybe on the next visit I could get some answers on that. But check into that bocce ball court, please. That would be something good. Thank you.
Do you know of any of them in Morris County that are local rather than the bocce?
I'm sorry?
Just Montville's the only one that you're aware of in Morris County?
I play in Montville. We play in Montville, but there's got to be other ones around. I don't know if Randolph has it. I'm not sure. You know who might have it? East Hanover. I know that's big over there. And they got a club over there, so that might be big over there. But it's fun. It's really fun. I don't know if you ever played it, but it's really fun.
I watch and this is no derogative about my grandparents.
It's a fun game. It really is.
There's a regulation court on Patty Street.
It's a lot of fun.
I'm sorry?
I helped build one in Patty's neighborhood.
It's good.
Our friends has one.
Pat?
Steve Gaffone. He has a regulation size one.
A good way, Mr. Kelly, what we could get, if we could look at Montville, that's where they're really nice. And you don't do the 100 foot, but they do 60 foot.
Next time if you could take some photos and whatever have you.
If I get up there, I will.
Yeah.
It's kind of quiet right now. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
We should ask to have that put in the master plan for Peterson Field.
That's why we need a plan.
Right.
Anybody else from the audience? No. With that being said, it's closed to the public. Next, we have a number 11 on the agenda is a presentation by the Financial Review Board. With your paperwork, do you need a podium or anything like that at all, or are you?
No.
Okay.
No, just, my name is Mark Schiffer. I live at 5 Rabbit Run. I will be brief as I can. I'm here representing, I'm on the Financial Review Board, and I'm here representing our chairman, Joe Simon, who's unable to be here. First, I want to read a letter into the record, and then I just want to give you a few personal remarks related to this. Council President, members of the council, and Mayor Puzio, the current members of the Financial Review Board collectively have well over 200 years of financial, business, and government experience. We have volunteered to be members of the Financial Review Board and are willing to continue to serve the township and provide our expertise to assist the township in effective financial management and develop a financial master plan. However, we have concerns as to the desire of the council, mayor, and administration to keep the Financial Review Board in existence. If it is the wishes of the council, the mayor, and administration to maintain the Financial Review Board, we need direction and, of equal importance, the full cooperation of the administration to provide us with information and responses to our inquiries. Please advise so that we, the members of the Financial Review Board, can then decide on the course of our action. Joe Simon. I have lived in Rockaway Township for 13 short years. I have lived many different places throughout the state of New Jersey in my 70 years. I have to tell you that I find Rockaway Township the best place to live out of all of the other places I've lived in. I really appreciate that, and I want to thank the council. I'd like to thank the mayor, and I'd like to thank administration for that. But as good as it is, there's always room for improvement. And that's what we're offering. We are not political. We are not in any way want to undermine anybody on the council. We don't want to undermine anybody, the mayor, anybody in administration, nor do we want to undermine labor relations. We believe that between our expertise and our experience, we have things we can offer. Maybe we're wrong, but it wouldn't hurt to try. Won't cost you anything. We're volunteers. Any ideas that we come up with, they go to you. You're the final decision makers. You get to say yay or nay. All we ask is that you look at the ideas, help facilitate our ability to develop such ideas, and then if you like the ideas, that's great. If you don't like them, throw them away. That's fine. That's our job. So what I'm asking you is that if you feel that there's some other reasons that you don't want to see us function, whatever those reasons are, or if you don't think we're going to be effective, then you should move to dissolve the board and save everybody a lot of time. But if you feel that we could be useful to you, then you need to help us. We need two things to start with. One, we need a liaison from the board to attend our meetings, to give us guidance. And two, more importantly, we need a liaison from administration who will not only be, who will have the authority and be responsive to provide us with whatever information that we need, documentation, information. I ask you to consult amongst yourselves and make a decision which way you'd like to go, and let us know. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to address you.
Thank you for your time.
And also a member of the Financial Review Board, and like to just mimic Mark's comments. My idea for joining and accepting the position of the Financial Review Board was to lend assistance to the township, to work with the council and administration in seeing if there is ways to make it more affordable, to see if there's better ways to function financially and develop that financial master plan. I did not join it realizing that there were potential political issues going on that impacted on us. I know we have requested information from administration. We don't get responses. We don't get replies. And I don't think that's correct. I don't think that the Financial Review Board, which is an arm of the township, officially, I had to swear, right, Christina? I had to uphold the Constitution and everything. That the Financial Review Board should have to put in an Oprah request to get information. We ask for information, we should get it. We're not doing it to create a problem for administration. We're there to help. But as Mark said, let us know, and so that we can decide on our own what we want to do, and what the town and where the town is going to go with respect to the Financial Review Board. Thank you.
It's a shame.
Anybody have any comments to Mr. Schiffer or Mr. Dio? No? First of all, I mean, I've attended your meetings. I believe Councilman Jeniak is your liaison, and we do have our CFO, Mrs. Palmieri, that worked in conjunction with all of you of the Financial Review Board. I'm looking at the code now. I mean, it looked like it was established in 1971 to where we're at right now. In the last couple of years, prior to this administration and council, it was never done. I mean, we don't have certain committee, like sewer review committee. I mean, there's not any members that are there. And it's been revitalized, to bring forward. So all your ideas, and, Mr. Schiffer, you didn't mention your experiences and your professional experience that you have. And what are those?
I have 45 years of experience working for Passaic County government. I was the director of the Passaic County Board of Social Services for 25 years and worked for the agency for 45 years. We had a large budget. Our budget, I don't even remember what it was, but somewhere, over $100 million a year. We had in excess of 400 employees, at one time 500 employees. So I have a lot of experience. I also have experience with labor. I was the organizer and president of a labor union. I was one of the few people who sat on both sides of the negotiating table. So I have sensitivity towards that. I am sensitive to, the needs of employees and their concerns. I also have a lot of experience politically, dealing with political elected officials and being involved politically at one time, not running for office, but behind the scenes. So I have a lot of different experience. I have business experience, running my own business. So I have a broad range of experience and knowledge, as do the other members of the committee. It's not just me. We all have different areas of expertise. So I am sensitive to some of the issues that you raised that go on, and based on my experience, we could probably make some recommendations on how things might help or might work without a political nuance. We try to avoid that. That's not the purpose of this. The purpose of this is to make Rockaway Township better for the taxpayers, better for the residents, better for the employees that are here. And you, as representatives of the people, you would be the ones who take the glory for that. We don't want any glory. I'm not running for office. My ego doesn't require any kind of, praise. We're doing this because I feel the need to give back. I've always been in public service, as have a lot of the people on the committee. So we're genuinely here without an agenda to try to make the township better, and to make it better through you. Not around you, not around administration. We appreciate administration. We appreciate sometimes you're in a tough position. We get that. I get that. I understand that. I've been there. But if we all work together, I think we all have a common goal to make things better for the people that we represent. For the people who live here, like me and all of you. And let's not lose that. Let's keep that in mind. We're really all on the same team. We have different strategies and different plays, but we're really on the same team. So all we're asking you is let us help on this team, but you can't tie our hands behind our back if you want us to help. We're not the boss. You make the decision, the mayor makes the decision. We respect that. Just because we have an idea doesn't mean that's the idea and it has to be that way. All we want to do is the opportunity to present something, listen to it, and then you say yay or nay. And that's okay. Anything else you need to know from me?
No. I obviously I could never say it as good as you just said it. And I mean, like I said, in all fairness to some of the members that haven't been to a meeting, they don't know maybe what is involved and whatnot. And under the section of the code, which is 235 for the Financial Review Board, your powers under 2-35.8 is prepare a financial master plan. You do continuing financing planning. You have the ability to do financial investigations, and you review the auditor's engagement agreement that are there. There's some tasks, there's some project they put you on, like the Bowlbyville would probably be a great example, because that seems to be the common topic going into that, to see the monies and trying to find out and the payment and the overall costs and assessments and benefits and stuff like that. In addition to what else has been prepared, you guys were doing that as well. And again, the Oprah and requesting information and.
But there's a lot of other things.
Sure, yeah.
There's a lot of.
I'm just giving you a small little.
And they could be small things, or they could be big things.
Sure.
And there's things that I have been exposed to in my experience that maybe you have not been. And I can share those things with you, as well as the other members of the committee. All we're asking from you is to allow us to share those experiences with you. Doesn't hurt. Doesn't hurt to listen, doesn't hurt to look at something else. Again, you make the decision, we don't.
I think even one of the items that you implemented where you used to work, which was a huge savings when talking to the CFO.
Right.
There was some interest that she had in talking with you. I mean, it hasn't gone anywhere, but it hasn't, been forgotten either with that. So, I know that you had taken a small hiatus, the board, as far as scheduling for your meetings. And then you're coming up, I think is,
I don't know.
you have I thought it was another one that was coming up, Mr. Simon.
We just had one, so probably in about 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Another meeting. But where we are right now, as was just said, we have asked for information, and for whatever reason, that information hasn't been coming. So without that information, without that cooperation, we can't do anything. So we need that cooperation, and I'm willing, I'm sure the rest of our membership is willing too, to sit down with the mayor, administration. We welcome that, to give you an idea of what we want to do, what we're trying to do, and maybe you'll tell us something which will make it impractical, or sit down with the council, or liaison from the council, and we'll say, hey, we have this idea, and you're going to say, that's not going to work because A, B, and C. We say, okay, but until we sit down and talk with one another, or have the ability to learn what's going on, nothing gets done.
Mrs. Seeger,
everybody's stalemate.
Is there a way that we can kind of maybe better our continuity? Like, I don't have access to the documents like you do, and I know it's sometimes difficult. We have to request stuff through Oprah rather than having it given to us or whatnot. And the Financial Review Board being sworn members, and in some stuff that's pretty easy, that is public record. Is it something that maybe we can figure a way to expedite some of the information, or get the information that they're looking for, or maybe some easier methods? Because when they were doing some comparisons, I noticed that when they were in other towns to do comparisons, those towns were so willing to give information, and they're not even from, that town. But yet, when it was for some of the information through our administration, it just seemed that there was some roadblocks and some hurdles and some timing that, it was very lengthy to get information for the review board. Is there something that maybe we can, not right now, but maybe we can look to see if there's a way we can maybe come to a term or some better understanding to get documents and information for the review board?
Sure. Mrs. Palmieri's there. She's. I talked to a few board members, and they said they had no problem getting anything they asked her for. She gave you.
No, that's not true. With all due respect, you had sent an email. I think, if I recall, it was to Ms. Palmieri to send me some of the information that I wanted or I needed. That was like 3 weeks ago. This information request has been out there for like 2-3 months now. Some of the information I already have. What I would like, if it's feasible.
You can come in, make an appointment with me and see me.
I'd like to do is sit down and have a meeting either with you or with Ms. Palmieri or the mayor.
You can make an appointment with my office. I have people stop in all the time, but make an appointment.
Sure, of course, and I would like to do that, and with Joe and maybe whoever else wants to come, and if we can start that way and get an understanding, and this way maybe you'll get a better understanding where we're coming from. We're not a threat. I don't want anybody to think that we're a threat.
Never thought you were.
Okay.
And in the past, prior to this, how do we get information to the review board?
If Lisa asked or they emailed me, I answered Mr. Dio's email. He thanked me for that, and I've answered as much as I can.
We have submitted a request for information several months ago.
Well, I did get hurt, so I have been out of the office, so.
What I'd like to do is let us have our next meeting, let us get organized in terms of where we're coming from, and then perhaps we'll seek out a meeting with you thereafter.
Sure, no problem.
About 4 weeks.
Sure.
Mark, I think that the board, though,
Was an actual meeting
wants a...
afterwards. Just records, documents.
Counsel from the council.
For an affirmation of the continuation of the board from the council.
Well, nothing's been changed in our code, so nothing's been removed from our code. I mean, 2-35 still stands. It hasn't been, repealed. And I don't know if anything, Mr. Yatrofano, has anything been brought up about repealing the Financial Review Board that you're aware of?
Yep.
Yeah, so.
Well, then, if the council is affirming the existence of the Financial Review Board, we would like the council to make sure, and I know Council President has been attending, the last number of meetings, whether you would be the liaison, which would be fine by us, or whoever is going to be the liaison, just so we know and get direction from the council. And then, assuming that this affirmation is that we're going to continue, then what we do is we'll meet in our next meeting, and thereafter we'll organize our thoughts and then seek out a meeting with you, if that's okay.
Well, I believe that your liaison, Councilman Jeniak, he's currently your liaison, so we can maybe confirm with him to see what he's got going on. And I just want to remind you, and maybe Mr. Yatrofano can confirm, because even under 10-4-8B, I think under the Open Public Meeting Act, like, you can't have a quorum of council.
Understood.
I think I addressed that once before in a letter to you.
We're just looking for one.
Yeah, because 5 members, I mean, as much as they would love, I mean.
I'm not looking for the whole council to come.
Okay, because that is a problem too.
Understood. That's not what we're asking for. We're just asking for someone from the council who's going to be able to give us direction and say, well, don't go there, go this direction, or I'll support you, or we need you to look into this. That's what we're looking for from the council. And from administration, we would be looking for clarification, documentation, and counsel from you saying, well, this is why you can't do that, or this is why you can do that, or this is a good idea, or this is a bad idea. That, I think, is what we're looking for, some help.
Okay. The Financial Review Board is going to stay in existence, we do have a vacancy. So is it possible to post on the website that there is a vacancy on the Financial Review Board if it is the desires of the council to keep it in existence? I understand what you're saying.
Well, Mr. Dio, like I said, Mr. Yatrofano confirmed we're not aware of anything of it being repealed or being removed. It's still in place. Your members, you haven't resigned. I mean, the board is still a complete board and it's functioning. I'll have the clerk advertise that like she just did for the commissioners for the sewer assessment committee, and we can move forward. And hopefully, from your conversations that you brought out and some of your frustrations, and perhaps administration can share some of their frustrations, and some council members can do the same. Hopefully, collectively, with those communications taking place of all of us, because it isn't just the council telling you what to do. There's a component of executive, legislative, and then you guys, of course. And let's see if something can happen that way, and maybe make it a little bit less frustrating for all involved.
Thank you.
We can do that, but I'll have the clerk address that for the notice to go out either on the website or maybe Mrs. Seeger can handle Facebook to put it out that way.
Thank you very much.
Great. Thanks for all your efforts, you guys. Thank you. We have on section 12 of the agenda, we have council appointments. We have, I'm going to do them both because it's the same person. We have firefighter and EMS. Ahmad Dadouli. Everybody know if I said that right?
Sounds good.
Sound right? Dadouli? That's, do I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Do I have a second on that?
Second.
I have Smith, Abrahamson.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Freelander?
Yes.
Councilmember Jednak? Councilmember Jednak? Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett?
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson?
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson?
Yes.
President Kelly?
Yes. I have 7 yeses, no abstentions, 0 noes, motion carries. Congratulations. You want to see if we can get it back on real quick?
Can we recess? while we do this?
You know what, would it be all right, everybody, if we just take like a 5-minute recess
Yeah.
real quick?
Really good.
I'm sorry? No? Okay. We're gonna take a 5-minute recess.
I need to go to the bathroom.
Only had one no.
Mr. Quinn,
Yeah.
I have to put you on hold for just a second.
Okay.
Thank you.
We have the consent agenda, number 13 on the agenda. I'll read them all about the following. It's going to be R19, 137.
I'm sorry. The consent agenda, number 13 of the agenda. It's R19, 137. Going to have R19, 138, R19, 139, R19, 140, R19, 141, R19, 142, and R19, 143. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Manny's quick.
got it. Manny's quick.
Please do the roll.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Freelander?
Yes.
Councilmember Jednak?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett?
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson?
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson?
Yes.
President Kelly?
Yes, I got 8 yeses, 0 noes, 0 abstentions, motion carries. We have 14, old business. Is there anybody that has anything with old business? No? Mrs. Seeger, I had one question we were talking about over at Snake Hill Road, the old RT Castle, with regard to a cleanup, maybe looking into doing something over there. We were talking, I know in the past, the administration was looking at a dog park. I don't know if there's any potential interest in that, since a lot of the neighboring towns, even Sparta has done a phenomenal dog park up there. Wharton has just done one recently too. I do know that there would be a lot of people that would volunteer and donators to where it probably wouldn't cost any tax-paying money to do something there. It's not a huge...
For the dog park?
Correct. And maybe a potential cleanup over there of the area and the parking that seems to constantly erode into the parking area towards Snake Hill. And I know that the expenses of other places really didn't exceed too much. They use taxpayers' money, but again, a lot of these people that are very pet-oriented and these 11th hour rescues and one over in the borough. Even as a matter of fact, Mrs. Kohler does a lot of the food trust festivals in conjunction with some of those rescue efforts with animals. And if the town would give somewhat permission to move forward on that, we had a plan, and again, it wasn't going to cost any taxpayers' money, maybe we can look into that.
Maybe we should get that group together and put a plan together and present it.
I mean, I would like to put a group together if it's something that maybe the administration would be interested in. I mean, we can ask, the mayor's not here in
I
all
would have
fairness.
to ask the mayor, but if that group still wants to get together and put something together, there's no harm in that.
No, it's not. I mean, it's, we all have more time than money sometimes, so I think we can invest some time, maybe get everybody on the same page. But I think equipment and volunteers, maybe even materials, can be donated again and have people that participate have a great pride in what they do, and it would be another networking of people and whatnot to do that. And we've already have the property that we're not doing anything with anyway, so maybe it would be a good thing to have happen. So that was the one thing I had for the dog park. You addressed the old business too for the library cleanup. We addressed the old business for the commissioners post, right? That was some old business that we had. And
That's it.
yeah, I think that's it for me on old business. Going on to new business.
I have something.
Go ahead, Mrs. Smith.
I totally agree with Mr. Alardi regarding all the signs all over the place. I don't know if administration could speak to the mayor and Mr. Iacofano and see if there could be an ordinance about removal of those signs, like they could be up for so many hours and then they're responsible to take them down. And if they're not, they could be fined. They have signs all over the place.
Did you get your one sign?
And that's on public property.
Did you get your one sign?
Yeah.
No, somebody was complaining about it. It's not there anymore. I don't know. It was over on Green Pond Road. Yeah, that's okay. Mrs. Seeger? Did she?
Yeah, she's wrote it down.
Okay.
I wrote it down.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other new business?
No further.
Yes.
Council President, there was an explosion last night or early this morning at Tilcon that actually affected power grid throughout town. I was wondering if the administration either had information or could look into why power, on the far east and north side of town, as far away as that, was affected by that explosion.
Was it explode? I thought the explosion was the.
I could not hear that, understand that.
I couldn't understand.
There was, I know a couple days ago, we had a very early explosion with Tilcon.
Not last night, the night before.
Right.
It was
But
in the
then I thought
paper.
last night we had
It was
an
in the
unbelievable
paper.
thunderstorm.
It was the night before the.
It was Thursday night,
But he's talking about last night.
I thought
Yeah,
it was
there's an
Sunday.
article this afternoon saying that the 5 a.m. or 3 a.m. Sound that everybody heard was related to Tilcon. And if that's, whether or not it is related to Tilcon, my question has to do with the impact on the power grid throughout town.
It just came out.
As far away as the far eastern side of town, the far northern side of town, power was out briefly as a result of that.
The article
If you
came
can.
out today, right before I left the house.
There was power out this morning?
Yeah, up in the northern, I lost power. I don't know how many other, I know people on my street had lost power, but it wasn't very long.
There was a car accident on Green Pond Road with a pole down.
No, but he was talking about the explosion that was in the paper.
That was last week.
And then he's telling me today there was another comment, and then there was a worker that got hurt.
That was last week. That was last week. Today, I thought last night was thunder and lightning, but I will check with the police.
Jeremy, are you
That's why-
positive it's in relation to an article you read today dealing about last night?
I think the officer...
Whatever took place today at 3 a.m. caused the power to go out for a significant part of town. My question is simply, do we know why? Can we find out why the power grid in town was affected by whatever it was that took place earlier this morning?
Yeah, I don't think Mrs. Seeger has the...
The officer said he had
Okay.
information.
Go ahead. Absolutely, go ahead, Sergeant. Okay.
The other night was still power, I was just
That's exactly.
Okay. Jeremy, did you hear that?
No, he didn't.
Jeremy?
I heard that whoever was speaking said that last night or this morning was not Tilcon.
Sergeant Ionelli was on duty with the Tilcon incident that was the night before. And then last night, he was stating that it was the thunder and lightning and the rain that had happened with that. So I'm not sure, because I read the article, but I thought that was from the day ago with the Daily Record.
It's possible. My question really is focused on the impact on the power grid in town. If we could find out why.
I think we can, I don't think anybody in the administration could answer that, but perhaps we can reach out to JCP&L. I know Mrs. Espinoza is the contact person there. Perhaps we can make a reach to JCP&L and see.
It would be great if the administration would reach out to JCP&L.
Okay.
And try this.
Thank you. Anybody else with new business? No? With that being said, we got reports.
I had emailed the council about canceling the second meetings in July and August so everyone can try and enjoy their summer. I spoke with Mr. Yachafano before tonight's meeting, and we need to have a formal motion in order to cancel those meetings.
Okay.
Is everybody on the same page from what had gone out?
Yes.
Are you saying you don't want any for the summer?
Yeah, let's send them all till January.
That's the way it was done in the last past.
And our only other option would be to
Forever.
cancel the meeting the night of or the day in advance, whatnot, and this would be so much easier
Yeah,
for the public to schedule around that. So I'm just going to read this motion. It's a motion to amend the Township Council's annual meeting schedule to eliminate the second meeting for the months of July and August, and directing the clerk to provide notice to the public of this amendment. Does anybody have any discussion with that or any adding to that?
What's the other option, though, is if we just cancel them before?
Yeah.
Okay.
But the public would then only know that
24
day
hours.
or a day in advance, rather than right now, we're allowing them to schedule accordingly.
And the thing, question also, if something does arise,
We'd have a
Always
that
special
is an
meeting.
emergency, we could always schedule, you know.
Special meeting, like what we did with Miller's Ale House.
Exactly,
Yeah.
so.
Manny, when you were on council, you only had one in July and August, correct?
Yeah, it was-
It was always that way, right?
Well,
yeah.
it only changed just recently with the scheduling in January.
Just this January it was
I
changed.
think Mr. Jackson actually
Yeah.
pointed out he wanted all the two.
Yeah, me and
Yeah.
Mr. Palumbo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So are we okay with this motion?
No
The
problem.
clerk could discuss it with the attorney? Okay. So,
Is this first meeting of each?
The second meetings of each month.
9th, 23rd.
the 9th is our next meeting.
What's it on this?
Hold on, I have a calendar.
No, we're keeping the first meetings.
It's the second meeting of the month.
Second meeting, we're eliminating.
What's the August? There you go.
We're meeting on the 7th. Yeah, okay.
So it would be July 23rd would be canceled
And August 13th is not, yeah, and, yeah, July 20th.
and August 20th.
And no, it's the
August
2nd and
27th.
4th, it's the 27th. You always have the 2nd and the 4th.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes,
So
the
we canceled the
27th.
27th.
Yes, yes.
We're keeping the 13th on. August
July
13th.
23rd and August 27th are canceled.
Well, she's going to make that amendment afterwards. Mr. Yachafano, do you want me to add those dates in there that we're going to be eliminating, or is this going to be sufficient?
As long as whatever the clerk publishes is clear, the resolution should simply say that the second meetings, probably better to say which specific meetings are being canceled.
Yeah, I would agree.
So July 23rd?
I have July 23rd is the fourth Tuesday, and for August, the fourth Tuesday is August 27th.
Right, you're taking those away.
Okay.
Leaving on the 9th and the 9th of July and the...
So I'm gonna, since we didn't have a motion or a second on this, I'm gonna modify this
Yep.
really easy. We're gonna have a motion to amend the Township Council's annual meeting schedule to eliminate July 23rd, 2019, and August 27, 2019, and directing the clerk to provide notice to the public of this amendment. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll
Mr.
second it.
Smith, Mr. Freelander, and a second. Clerk, please do the roll.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Yes.
Councilmember Jedinak?
What do you say?
Yes.
Can you repeat that, please?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Sackett?
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson?
Yes.
Vice President Abrahamson?
Yes.
President Kelly?
Yes, got 8 yeses, 0 no's, 0 abstention, motion carries.
Now you can do report.
Thank you, sorry about that. Mr. Quinn, we got reports?
Yes, sir. I attended the DARE graduation at DBO. It was well attended. A good amount of kids graduated. Our police department did an outstanding job with this program, and I appreciate it. My kids were the first ones through that program at DBO. Also, I'd like to thank Bobby Shear for reaching out to the New Jersey Transit and the New Jersey Department of Works, because we had a problem on Route 15
one of the underground culverts going to the Rockaway River backed up and affected one of the residents. Bobby was on the spot, made a phone call, and they came out and did some remediation to help alleviate the water problem, and it is back working fine. So thank you, Bobby Shear and administration, for acting quickly on that. Otherwise, the resident's basement would have filled up. Other than that, all is well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Quinn. Mrs. Smith?
I have no report, just wish everybody a happy and safe, enjoyable summer.
Mr. Janian?
Covered under new business, and happy Independence Day to all.
Thank you.
Vice President Abrams?
I don't have any report, but I'd like to congratulate the officers in Rockaway Township Police Department that have received the MAD Award. I know there were 3 officers. I believe one was Officer Hatzmahalis. I do believe it was one also Officer Albert. And who was the third?
Testa.
No. Was it Officer Hamilton? Yes. Okay, it was Officer Hamilton. That's what I thought it was. So I want to congratulate them for the MAD Award. It's Mothers Against Drunk Drivers. And 3 officers have received that award, and that's very honorable. I thank them for their service.
Can we do a proclamation for them? Can we do something to recognize them?
Put it on Facebook.
Okay, something.
We did.
Thank you.
I thought we did.
Mr. Jackson?
Just 2 things. Again, condolences to Hank Dragoni and his family. And then I've gone by Miller's Ale House several times in the past few days, and the place is rocking and rolling. So I think it's going to be really good for the township, and it's attracting a lot of business. So I'm really excited for them.
Have you got a chance to go inside?
Yes.
It's nice.
It's nice, yeah.
It's always nice.
Well, I was just noticing, my wife and I were saying, it's like, you go to Buffalo Wild Wings, and then not to do it, but like, in Miller's Ale House, you can actually hear each other speak.
Yeah.
So it was nice, yeah.
That's refreshing.
Yeah. They did a soft opening on Thursday and Friday, and they had a really good response. And
Yeah, I was there.
I was able to get a little tour inside there. It was
nice.
Yeah, it was great.
Food
And they
was
were
good.
very, very, again, thankful to the administration, to the council, to all the professionals that were involved.
Yeah.
Mrs. Fronte, you and the construction department and Mr. Babcock
Keep them
really
coming.
assisted them, and they couldn't thank you anymore for what was there, so thank you for that. I'm sorry, Mr. Jackson, anything else?
That's it. Nope.
Mr. Sackett?
Just a couple of quick things. This weekend, Saturday and Sunday, the 29th and 30th, 11 to 2 o'clock at the Fort Face House, they'll be having an Independence Day open house. And the Gazebo Summer Concert Series starts Sunday, July 7th and runs through Labor Day, 3 to 5 o'clock at Park Lake Gazebo. Happy 4th of July to everybody.
Any fireworks? What? Any fireworks at the Fascia House?
I don't think there's any fireworks.
Not allowed around that.
Yeah. Mr. Freelander, go ahead.
Okay, well, you mentioned the Historical Society, so that's cool. The library, the quiet room is going full speed ahead. It's going to look pretty good as far as that goes, and hopefully soon Marcel will be on its way to recovery. It's a long process. It's not just 5 months ago, but with the water, the pipes breaking, you got to go clean it up, insurance, and everybody's got to take care of that before you really see what you got to fix. I just want to, and for the ending, I just want to read something. This is from Senator Anthony Bucco's site. Senator Anthony Bucco's legislation to establish a grant program that school districts would use to implement a substance abuse prevention program for 8th graders passed the Senate Education Committee. The reason I read that is for this reason. The drug abuse program is modeled after Project Positive Choice, a successful drug and alcohol education prevention program that has been part of the 8th grade curriculum at the Copeland Middle School in Rockaway Township for more than 2 decades. So I just want to commend Les Wexler and his whole entire staff. They've done a tremendous job in the last 20 years, and they're using this program as the model. And the first step is passing committee, so. Thank you, Les, and everybody. And enjoy 4th of July and Rockaway Township Festival Day in White Meadow Lake.
That's it, Mr. Freelander?
That's
Thank
it.
you. Yes, Mr. Jenia.
One item that I forgot to mention. This Friday at 9 a.m., the Rockaway Area Chamber will be having its next breakfast networking meeting at the Atlantic Health Pavilion at the mall. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a couple of things. First of all, up north, I consider them the 6th fire department, even though we only have 5 that we deal with Rockaway, but Green Pond with their mutual aid and everything else they do and the volunteers there in their own community, they just received their tanker, number 72. I don't know if many people are aware, but they had somebody that was an anonymous donor that was willing to donate whatever they were able to get, match it. And they were able to get almost $100,000 from one person to donate, which enabled them to retire the one tanker, and they got a new one. I believe it was delivered today. So, the kudos to Green Pond. I hope they don't have to use it. But they also had some other things that they were going to buy to facilitate that tanker, to get some additional funds to do so, and other equipment that they need. So a great shout out to Green Pond for that. I want to congratulate all the children that graduated, all the way from K up to high school, and even those that are in college, but they graduated much earlier. It just seemed that it was a big graduation week for all the children that are there. So I hope all the kids have a great summer. I remember those days, just a long time ago. The other thing is, if we were able to locate the information for the Perry with Sheriff Gannon, the information that was sent to Rockaway, and there was a proclamation that Rockaway Borough had done for that same program. I know Mr. Jackson had questioned why the need of it, but why not have it? Any additional programs that we could have to help the opioid crisis that are here, I wouldn't want to hesitate. So if we can maybe look into that, maybe with a copy of that proclamation that we have from a neighboring town, we can mirror that and present it and get the ball rolling. Sheriff?
I can talk about that, because I've been, can I come up?
You know what, can you make it kind of brief?
Yeah, it's brief.
Okay.
I spoke about it last week. I don't know who you are, but my name is Gina Coble. I lived in Green Pond for 35 years.
I didn't ask why the need
I'm
for
sorry.
it. Yeah, he's categorizing
Oh, okay,
what
I
they
don't know
asked.
what's
I just
asked.
asked for more information
I
about
can
it
give
and what
you
other
quite a bit
towns.
about.
Yeah.
Actually, I had planned on sending out an email to everyone on the council, because I was here last week talking about it. Rockaway Township, we've lost quite a few people. The first son was Sergeant Iannelli's young son, who was a very good friend of my son, and it rocked our family's life. Tonight, that was Tuesday. Wednesday, Rockaway Borough went up with their parry. It came out on their PBA. It can be in obviously any township. Since I don't know when Mayor Puzio posted that there were 12 Narcan saves, whether it was since January, whether since it was November, I don't know. But that number is outrageous, because what that means is you had 12 kids in respiratory arrest and 10 minutes to get them back before that they have brain damage and they're dead. I've called the police chief 4 times since last Wednesday, spoke multiple times with his secretary. Supposedly Perry is up in the police department, even though Mayor Puzio knew nothing about it. And when I talked to Melissa as of Thursday, the chief of police said that they did send someone for training, but they pulled him out because they didn't have time to send anyone. That was as of when I spoke to her last week. I spoke to her again yesterday. I haven't sent out my email about it. I know Phyllis emailed me back with the information, because tonight I was at the fourth kid who's been murdered in the last, and I'm going to call it that, the last 10 months from heroin. This girl graduated the Knolls you talked about. I know Anthony Bucco, his wife, was in our wedding. I know he's doing a lot with the school systems. She graduated from Knolls. This is the fourth.
Yeah, she just passed.
She just passed tonight with her wake. This is the fourth kid, 25 years old. The fourth kid in 10 months. This is just not acceptable, especially with Parry here. Sheriff Gannon has the funding for it. Again, I'm going to meet with the chief of police to find out what Sheriff Gannon can do. He's offered to facilitate whatever they need to do to get it up and running in Rockaway Township. That's all.
You know what? I don't know if you have Mr. Jackson, because he was looking for some additional information. You had your email here. Maybe she can send you some information that maybe will
I don't know.
change your mind and be interested in it.
Sure.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you very much for that.
No problem.
Any information that you have that you've received, if you could pass along to the council?
Yeah, I don't think I have, but I'll look.
Okay, great. The other thing that I had is CAF system in one of the fire trucks over in White Meadow Lake. I think the foam truck was out for repair, that came back and it had some additional issues and it's not functioning now. I don't know if we can look into that, see if it's been corrected.
White Meadow Lake?
Yeah, we have a CAF truck that's in the new tanker that we got over in Hibernia, but White Meadow Lake is having it had some issues, had it repaired, and then whatever repair it was, it's still having another issue again, and we only have 2 trucks. I mean, that's the older CAF truck, so if we can look into that. The other thing is, it was brought to my attention by a resident, 41 Berry Drive. That's Dave's neck of the woods.
I didn't hear, 41?
Berry Drive. Person reported that they had the noise of running water, and our department had gone over there and determined that it was in the front yard. So he hired an excavator contractor, and it ended up being in the street, not in the front yard. So there were some communications of some of our personnel saying to give the check back to the contractor. It was given back to the contractor. Now the town's saying that they're not paying, so there were some questions that were going
The
on.
procedure is for the homeowner to put it through their insurance,
yeah.
and whatever their insurance doesn't pay, they go to the clerk's office and fill out a tort claim, and then it will be taken care of.
Yeah, they didn't tell him that, but he was even questioning, because the contractor said that could be a possibility. But how could they make a claim to go into insurance on something that wasn't like an accident of them excavating?
They have to take that up with their insurance. If the insurance turns it down, they take that with the tort and they fill it out, and the process will be taken place.
Is there a process online that I can just gear the individual to, like a link?
Is that form online?
My
Okay.
office.
It's Mr. Vargas is the gentleman's name. I don't know if you know him, Dave? The house right next to the stream there.
Yeah.
Where it comes in from the pond off of...
Is that
yeah.
form online, Chris, Ms. Clifford?
I don't believe it's online, but if they contact my office, I can provide them with it.
And then I just had my wife communicate to Mrs. Abrahamson that the power's out up in Telemark area, specifically Marion Road. Right now, everybody is out of power out that way. Currently, right now, and of course, we don't know what's going on, but I just figured I would inform anybody. If they know anybody up there, or if they live up there now that's in the audience. And I think that's it. I don't have anything else to report. Yeah, that's it. I don't have anything else to report other than happy 4th of July and have a safe holiday. I don't know if anybody from administration has anything?
I just have one comment. Since we canceled the second meeting in July, which some of my staff knew maybe that would happen, they asked for a little lenience on getting all the information to the clerk that we can add, because some of the work we were going to do was on July 26th, so now we have to move it up, so they have to change their schedule to get the information quicker. So just.
You're trying to condense everything from the 27th
Yeah.
meeting onto that?
Right, and we just might need a little more time just for your.
Well, I mean-
We just ask for your patience, that's all.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I don't get all the agenda items until the Thursday before our council meetings to begin with, and the packets get put together to go out to the council on that Friday. I don't know how much more wiggle room we can really provide. I mean, I'm happy to work with you in any
Well-
way that I can. I just don't know how much room we actually have.
But I'm just saying, I'm just letting everybody know that that was brought to my attention for the staff, and we'll work it out, I'm sure.
Okay. We'll see what comes in and whatever have you to kind of schedule that. But moving forward since July 9th, I mean, you have all this time from tonight going into the next meeting in July. I mean, you could be able to assemble stuff maybe, rather than ask for an extension, maybe we can ump up all the extra work, and the same thing with August.
Like I said, we'll work it out.
Okay, great. Yeah. That's it. Dave, you have anything?
No, everyone have a safe, fun summer, and I'll put the rumor to rest. I was not the $100,000 donor. That's
not what I hear.
It's on record.
I also
love
heard
the fire department, but I was not the donor.
You're one of the worst
on the
you
record.
do, I heard, too, over at Whitman Lake.
Have a great summer, everyone.
Mrs. Fronte? No, great. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
Do I have all ayes? Aye. Aye. Thank you.
Good night, Tony.